Collective.
Collin here.
And we are ready to bring you Ahsoka Part 5, or Episode 5, The Shadow Warrior.
Yeah, and about that title, it's named after a movie me and him just watched last night, Kagemusha, by Akira Kurosawa, which is translates to Shadow Warrior, which that film's about a shadow warrior, which means like a political decoy, like somebody who plays the part of the ruler or whatever in order to trick the public. Well, in this movie, it's a thief who looks exactly like a samurai leader of a clan, and the clan leaders ended up wounded in battle, and the shadow warrior per se has to kind of take the throne in an attempt to misguide the enemies. Anyway, so it's basically the outcome of that and what goes on. And it was an interesting movie, and we'll talk about who we think the Shadow Warrior is towards the end of this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But in this episode here, we open up on Cedos.
Yep.
Cedos.
We said Satos, and I was
Satos.
like, really? How are you not gonna what?
Right.
So yeah, Satos. So again, this was cool because we get they're above the forest.
Yeah,
and
we
it's
get
beautiful.
that. We get that montage of the red forest. Which
I'd love to live here.
Yeah, which is just always great seeing that forest. That forest is beautiful. Leading us up onto like the waves of the water hitting onto the cliffs, where we last saw like Ahsoka fall and everything, and we've got it like. It's this great like shot over the waves onto the cliffs that then like guide us right over the like one of the broken halves.
Also, kind of reminding us who's under there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But what were you saying? Oh, and then we go back to where we see the little map broken in half, and it's got these gears inside. It's pretty cool looking, actually. It looks like, Sabine probably, that's why she figured it out. It looked like it was actually not just magic or something. It was like something anyone could.
It was like truly like a puzzle.
If you knew how to. But so that was cool. But we get to back to that henge, and after like doing a sweep looking around, we get back to that henge, and something I noticed about Jason this time was he's wearing this pauldron. And it's his father's pauldron, the green, and it's green and it's got
shoulder
the white,
armor. Pauldron, shoulder
and
armor.
It's his dad's, Kanan. And also Kanan, there's like a little picture on Hera's dashboard that looks like it might be Kanan. It definitely is Kanan, but it might be
Freddie
Prinze.
Yeah,
which would be sweet.
That would be cool.
A little flashback to him would be sweet. If not a Force ghost, but I don't know if he ever learned how. But anyway, so we see those little things that I didn't notice on my first watch.
Yeah.
And this is when they kind of just round the corner. Hera rounds the corner and sees Hu Yang standing there, just like sad, man. Like
holding.
I've never seen a robot look so sad.
Yeah. And like, but it's not even like that. He just looks so sad. It's what he says.
Yeah.
He's like, they never He's like, I told them to stay together.
Yep.
But they never listen.
No.
And then
he repeats it. Yeah.
But then it's the second time where he says they never listen. Is where it's like, damn, David Tennant, you really gave a robot feelings here.
Right, because it also brought you back to like he's talking about a lot more than just these two.
Mm-hmm.
Like they never listen.
Yeah.
And first time he's talking about them, and then the second time he's like, it's a bigger thing. Mm-hmm. It's a I've dealt with this for a long time, and I'm tired of it, kind of thing.
Right.
But at the same time, he's so programmed into a certain code that he can't see why people make decisions outside of something that he would maybe call statistically like not worth it.
Yeah. And man, then they like after that starring moment, they cut to the title sequence, which again we've got some amazing music going here and everything with it, and
so good.
It's
so good.
It's always...
And that the music in this episode definitely reminds me of the music we heard in the movie Kagemusha, and it also was just really striking in this episode. Like, it was like full tilt. He went, the guy who was
Kevin Kiner.
Yeah, who was and he just went in. There was some flute stuff going on that I was really appreciating, and some like some drum action. But yeah, so we're after that sequence, after the title card comes up, we get back to the world between worlds, and this part's pretty funny because it's kind of like meta in a sense, because like Anakin tells Ahsoka that she kind of looks old, and it's like it's kind of funny because even though I think his de-agifying thing looks a little better in this episode, like especially towards the middle of like the episode, it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing to talk about, but it's like you look old, and it's like because Ahsoka at this point would be about like 45, 50.
Well,
so like
but I think it's actually more so towards like even a knock of like the flashback in Obi-Wan where him and Obi-Wan are like supposed to be like Clone Wars era, and it's just like that's just not Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just not Clone Wars era, like Anakin. Whereas here, this is probably this is older than like the Clone Wars era, so like it works with the little bit that they touch up to him and whatnot.
This is like this is like right before he goes this is when like he's just chosen like peak Anakin to the living force basically is using Anakin in this way to teach Ahsoka a lesson, and we start seeing that really quickly, and so
well, Anakin also reminds her that like she lost the fight to Balin's skull, and that's like,
and she remembers that, and he's like, oh, okay, so you do have a chance. Yeah, you basically have a chance to live still. So the fact that you remember means you're still connected, and so we get this point, and they're like, he's like, what like the point of this is like, do you want to live or die? And it's like it's and he really that simple.
But he lights the blue lightsaber. The Anakin lightsaber.
It's like as he's acting as her master still in this moment, and throughout the whole episode he is, but he takes different forms basically to prove different points, I think. And he is who she needs him to be in every portion of this episode. And
she's still always, pushing back, not going like not listening to him, just straight on being like, no, I won't fight you. Which is absolutely both of their traits. Like they're both like very stubborn. They both have their own idea of what's right, and they're both like kind of gonna do what they need to do, regardless of what's gonna the overall picture. But I'd say Ahsoka's a little more pinpointed with what she does. But by the end of this episode, maybe not so. But they start that fight. And like them matching wits and in that battle,
really cool.
It's so great. It's so awesome.
So they go back and forth in like a pretty much almost exact manner that they were on Ryloth before they finished that battle. Like we'll get back to that because we're still Hera above this is searching for.
Yeah, we jump back to Cedos now.
Yeah. And
the map cradle.
You could tell she's just like refusing to give up searching. Especially after Jason calls her over, Hera. And
it's like, hey, Mom, like, come here. Don't you, like, hear it? And they're like...
What, some waves? And, like,
What?
And he's like, no, listen, there's, like, lightsabers. Like, there's, like, something, listen to it.
Yeah.
There's lightsabers going on in the distance. Which, to me, insists that this is real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just, like, some dream that Ahsoka's having about the world between worlds, that she's actually battling Anakin right now. You know what I mean? Within the Force. And that's why he's so tapped into it, because he's so connected to the Force.
So what this actually leads me to believe of like Cetos and stuff is that like Huang talked about it with the Purgles, that this used to be like a Jedi point where they looked at things. So and we're able to travel between galaxies and like things like that and whatnot. Stuff of legends, stuff of legends and whatnot that Balon, would say. But like, so for me, I just felt this to be like a very Force sensitive, like whether this would be a temple ish kind of area, or like the ability to have a temple
it's a holy place
to make a gateway to the world. Like, I just kind of found that Cedos and stuff in general is like a gateway to the world.
I absolutely
to the world between worlds, because of how we've seen it used in like Rebels and stuff, of being able to like pull people in and out and things, of like how we saw that.
Yeah, where it's a little more. Yeah.
And like not necessarily like time travel-y or anything.
Yeah, which
but
it
like,
technically is, but
yeah,
like it's not.
It is, but it is.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah. I know he said it isn't, but it kind of is because it happened. Like the time travel happens in that show. So anyway, yeah. So like Hera just kind of listens again, and she hears it finally, and she's like, "All right, I'm not giving up." And this is kind of cool because we get Hera takes off with Hugh Yang to look search, and she kind of prods him, and it was like, what was it Ahsoka's master like, you know what I mean?
Oh no, before that, they get on there though, I just like saying, I just like talking about Hugh Yang going to Captain Teva, Carson Teva.
Oh yeah.
Being like, oh, Jason has abilities like his father, Kanan Jarrus. And like, Tava's like, and okay. Like Tava's like, okay,
right,
like I'm not. This isn't an answer, but I'm not gonna ask any more questions.
Teva doesn't. No one really knows about the Jedi anymore. Like they're not like some like force that's to be reckoned with. They're like basically almost myth at this point to most of the galaxy. Yeah. So like Teva's like, fine, like I'm gonna do what you're gonna say, but like that's whatever. Yeah. That's not like as convincing as it would have been. Maybe 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, even. Anyway, so yeah, we get that, and then they're together on the Ghost.
Yeah.
And they're searching above the waters, and she's just like, how was his master, or how was Ahsoka's master? And like intense is all he says because he doesn't want to get into it.
Yeah.
Which is cool of him.
Right.
I think that's pretty. Yeah.
Right, and it's then we actually go after they say Jason and Kanan's father. We go back to the world between worlds, and we still got that lightsaber fight going on between Ahsoka and Anakin. Yeah. But Ahsoka bests Anakin here, and you know then she's like, I still like can beat you. I've got you, and he's like, no, I still got some stuff to teach you, and he just cuts the ground.
It's awesome, yeah. He's like, which is also very like, oh my god, he's powerful in this realm. Like, whatever's this is, which I think it's Anakin in the Living Force, whatever. Yeah, I think he's more powerful now than ever, and maybe he's learned some things even past. That.
Yeah, right.
It seems because he's able to cut the floor at the World Between Worlds and kind of drop her into this like living memory because it's not a flashback, right? And it's not like she's not actually experiencing it, but she does have like the brain of older Ahsoka, understanding who she is and stuff. And it seems like he also has the brain of like he even went through his Darth Vader phase. You know what I mean? We get into, but so the first scene is crazy. We're in the Clone Wars in live action, and we see young Snips, and she's played by Ariana Greenblatt, who is also like young Gamora in Infinity War, and she only basically goes into billionaire.
In Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie. I was gonna say she's only in billionaire franchises.
Yeah. And killing it in all of them.
Yeah.
She's great as young Gamora. She's awesome in Barbie. Like she really is great in Barbie. And she's also awesome.
She really got to show off his Snips, though. I feel like I haven't seen Barbie though, so to be fair, I know she's got a bigger part in that too. So, but she really, she took it out of the park with young Ahsoka. Yeah. So anyway, they're on Ryloth in this part, which is it's a separatist just mauled this planet always. Yeah. It was like in a lot of episodes. It was a focus of Clone Wars a lot, and it's also where Hera's from.
Yes.
Her and the Twi'leks are from, which you see a few in the scene next to Captain Rex, who you see for the first time. You don't hear. But so we see Captain Rex, and she's kind of holding this like clone trooper though, and it's this moment where it's like you can see that she's actually experiencing herself now. She knows that what she does in this battle leads to a lot of deaths. Yeah. And it's her guilt is compounded, and she's just kind of like learning in this moment still what's going on. And Anakin kind of steps her aside and is like, it's our job to lead. It's that doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. That doesn't mean we're not going to screw up. But like that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And she's like, what if I stop fighting? She's she's like, then you'll die. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just true, right? Like,
Right.
even in real life, you can't just stop fighting. Not always fighting in the sense like that they're saying, but you got to fight for life.
You know, and like Anakin goes, you know, like, that's, you know, like Obi-Wan taught me to be a peacekeeper because that's what we were needed for at the time. And, you know, like, now I'm teaching you how to fight because that's what we need.
Right.
And then she's like, is that all I'll be able to teach my Padawan?
Which is interesting.
Is how to
because
fight?
That's the first point to me where this is actually clearly about Sabine, a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of this inner conflict that she's dealing with, that her and Anakin are dealing with right now, is not just with her and Vader's relationship.
Yeah.
It's also dealing with how she will be a master after her master's relationship soured so much. Anyway, so they this is such a cool scene right here because we see like Anakin talking to some Twi'leks and Captain Rex is there, and then like he's like, let's go, and he goes into battle, and this is like these clone troopers surrounding him, and then it flashes and like you get glimpses of Vader, and then he walks away and there's no one around him, and he's just all alone walking through this
smoke,
smoky,
basically,
smoky,
smoke.
sandy. Which like during the battle you see like these big gunships coming next to him, and flying next to him, and like it's really cool Clone Wars. And again, this point, the de-aging thing looked amazing. Yeah. Like including his hair and like his costume, and they get the it's nice that there's smoke everywhere around him because then they get to kind of work around it a little better, I think. But anyway, it looked really good in this part.
It was so great. But then we just kind of linger with like Ahsoka just looking at those flashes of like Anakin walking in Vader and stuff. And
which to me, I don't know if it meant what it meant to you, but to me it meant he makes a decision to battle alone by himself, and she's seeing that. She's seeing that from her perspective, like, oh, that's why he turns into Vader. You know what I mean? He doesn't ever have a team. He doesn't ever want to be. He never even probably wanted to be her master. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, and she's kind of having those same feelings, so she needs to make a decision, right? Yeah. So then, cut to the Siege of Mandalore.
No. We go back to Cedos first. And we get Carson sweeping. We get Carson sweeping, and he's asking about like, hey, we've got to make like a call to we got to make a call to the Republic. We can't keep doing our sweeps here. Fuel reserves are starting to get low. Like we haven't found anything out here.
Right.
Like what are we what are we doing? She talks with Huang and he's like, oh, well, you know, like if your fuel reserves are like low or anything, what about just like calling the Republic? They're just a short little like comm call away. And Hera's like, this is unauthorized. So
which you know he loves.
Yeah. and Huang's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, he doesn't like
that. And then, but like, Hera does just very pointedly ask Huang, like, Huang, where are they?
Yeah.
People just don't up and vanish. Talking about Ahsoka and Sabine, like you were here with them. Like, what happened? And he's just like, I wish they knew. I wish I knew. And Hera's like, is there any chance that they survived or that they're like out there? And he's like, with those two, always.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's when Chopper and Jason call in, tell her that they're finding something and these certain coordinates, but they need to get lower and they need to search lower.
And it's like 323157.
Yeah, is the coordinates.
Is where they're going.
Figure that out, whatever that means.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, and now we're at the Siege of Mandalore, which is from Clone Wars Season 7, basically. And Ahsoka's, this is the point where I love, because this is like the Season 7 is one of my favorite Star Wars products ever. Yeah. And she's with her 332nd company, and, you know, they got the orange face paint, and they're fighting with her. And then she's fighting the, like, Mandalorians, which, like, they're a faction of the Mandalorians called the Death Watch, and they fight like under the banner of Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the fights that was brought up to Sabine earlier with Balon, like you know what I mean, and some of there's some themes that come up with that, and this is also when we finally hear Commander Rex, not Captain Rex. He's Commander at this point, and Tamara Morrison comes in to voice him, which was sweet to hear. And this is also kind of when Anakin comes back, and Anakin's like, I don't remember this. And she's like, yeah, why would you? I was on my own. We had split paths. Anakin was still doing. He wasn't like Darth Vader yet, but he was doing his own thing. They were doing their own thing. She split from the Jedi at this point. Yep. But and this is kind of like when they have an important conversation. I feel like. Yeah, he goes, "This looks intense." Yeah. And she's like, "It was." Right. Yeah, like this is kind of like you look at you leading this group of people, these group of people, but she knows she loses so much from this battle. She knows the outcome, and he's trying to get her to look past that and look past like what was lost and like and try to see what was won at the end of it, because bigger picture is usually the thing you can only look at war without delving into some horrible things that get done. Right. But yeah, so they start talking about her legacy and their legacy, and like, is it just death in war? Which also rhymes with what Balon said in the last episode to Sabine to kind of get the map from her, and he was like, said your legacy will be based like your master. Your legacy will to Ahsoka. Sorry, not Sabine. Yeah. He said it to Ahsoka that your legacy will be filled with death and war. Like, and misery basically. He used that to invoke anger in Ahsoka. It didn't work, but like it clearly is something that she thinks about. Yep. And he's Anakin's like, you're more than that, and she's like, yeah, you became more than that too, like a little too much, my guy. Yeah, right. Nobody knew like how powerful you are, how dangerous like you would become. Yeah, and more than that. And I don't think he meant more than that in that sense. I think he meant more than just that part of him. Like, and he's like, no, okay, you didn't get it, right? Yeah, you didn't get it. Yeah, you clearly, we got to go back to the beginning. So they start fighting again, and he's got. Not Sith eyes, they're not yellow, they're red. No, but he lights the red saber. Yeah, he's like, all right, I'll be who you need me to be. Like I was saying, like I'll be that guy. Yeah. And it's kind of like really a cool mirror, because it's like kind of showing you that Ahsoka isn't Vader. Yeah. And it's like, come on, girl, like figure it out. Like you aren't the reason he became Vader. Yeah. And he did that all on his own. And needed to go through that apparently to be where he is now, and you need to go through what you need to go through, and that's going to be on your own way. And so they pretty much fight on that, and it's basically life or death. Dude, he 300 kicks her through the memory of the Siege of Mandalore back into the world between worlds. Right. And like when we say the world between worlds now, we mean like the all black with like the rainbow road, but it's not but it's not really a rainbow road. It's a blue luminescent roads, which look cool when they fight on it, because like the prints stay on it, like when they're stepping on it. Anyway, so you've learned nothing. You want to live or die? No, Ahsoka says. Like, and he's like, nope, wrong. 300 kicks her back to the world between worlds. But yeah, I think at this moment she's like kind of like afraid, like I said, to become a master. Yeah. She's afraid to do that, and because of the guilt of Anakin becoming what he became, and she also needs to let go. And like that's a big part of Star Wars, I feel like. Yeah. Like learning to let go. And so then they're back on the blue path, like you said, and they're having like that great battle. Yeah. It's an awesome lightsaber battle. Yep. It's super intense, and as Anakin's walking back in himself into the world between worlds, like you see that smoke, and he like throws his shoulders like that, and you get a flash of like Vader and stuff as well. All of that is the cinematography just so great. On this episode is just perfect. Like every scene again is like you could so screenshot and make it a wallpaper. Absolutely. And Yeah, so Ahsoka really again just puts up that like that defensive fight and just kind of uses all his moves against her.
You see, like Anakin, he's got his Sith eyes.
Yeah, they're not. They're
it's
red.
like,
They're not yellow. It's even a little different. So it's like he's playing into a character. I feel like he's being who she needs, and that's part of it. Like I'm gonna be the bad guy, and she grabs his blade instead of using her blade and puts it to his neck, and that's kind of the point where I was like, ooh,
dude, did you see her eyes?
And then when she's holding it, like the red's kind of blazing on her eyes, and her eyes go Sith.
Her eyes match like Anakin's eyes and stuff.
But instead of internalizing that, she lets go of it and chooses. She literally chooses to live. She says, and then he's like, there's hope for you yet. Okay, cool. And that's when she kind of just
waves crash.
Anakin disappears. Yeah. She kind of floats back into this the stars start flipping, and there's like two of her, and then they turns into water, and then the water like envelops her, and then she's kind of rising to the surface of that Cetos. Yeah. And then you see
seas of Cetos. Yeah.
And then
a pilot dives in, rescues Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's very much a resurrection scene. It seems.
Yeah, very much so. And she like even calls for Anakin at one point when they like lay her down on like.
Yeah, someone says Ahsoka. I don't know if you heard that. Like someone says Ahsoka, and she says Anakin, but I don't know if it was Anakin. I think it was Sabine. It sounded like Sabine to me calling out to her.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, so when you're watching it, watch it, like listen closely. There's someone who calls out to her, and it sounds like a woman's voice to me, but she answers with Anakin clearly but I don't know, maybe it is Anakin.
I wonder if it was, so the pilot who saves her is a woman pilot as well. It could have been her.
Right.
It's Ahsoka just asking for her or whatever. But that, I don't know. But then Ahsoka wakes up in her ship, and Hewing is always there to greet her.
Yep. Yeah, and we see her creepy forehead here.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all. So she wakes up from sleeping in her creepy forehead, and then Hugh Yang's talking to her, and it's still a great scene. And this is kind of like when Hugh Yang's figuring out what happened to her, and she's not giving it up, and he's like, all right, I don't know what to say.
You've been out for a rotation. There is no, there's a squadron of X-Wings coming, but not for the reasons we want them to be coming.
Because you know how they like to do stuff unauthorized,
right?
Yeah, so he's just like done with everything, and Ahsoka the White kind of emerges from the ghost here, or from the T6, from her T6, and this is a really cool part because she goes up to Jason, who they know each other from the past clearly, it seems like, and they hug, and Jason's just clearly like enamored with her, you know what I mean? And then Hera's like, you want to show him the starship? He's like, I've seen a starship before.
What are you talking about, Mom?
Ahsoka's like, Jedi starship? And he's like, what? He's like, take her to the
and Hewing's like, I'll show you the training room.
Yeah. And he's like, and Jason's like to Yang, he's like, you have a training room on your starship? Will you train me?
No.
And Yang's like, no. He's like, do you know how to build a lightsaber? Yes. Will you train me? No. It's like great.
It's so good.
Great little scene here, and but this is when Ahsoka grabs that piece of the map, and walks up to the henge, and uses this as a chance to get a Force echo, like basically a Force memory from what happened with after she was knocked
with
off
Sabine
the edge.
and Baylan. Because she wasn't there,
and she clearly hears something from the battle, and it's Baylan saying to Sabine, "You're not like her, are you?" And then Sabine says, "More than you know." So like kind of reassuring the fact that Sabine doesn't hate Ahsoka. Like even though Baylan was trying to pull on that, that wasn't ever going to work. You know what I mean? Like Sabine knows more than anyone. Like she wasn't responsible for killing her parents. Like. Blah blah blah. Like that might be some stuff they got to deal with or whatever, but it's not something Balon actually is going to be able to use against her. Sabine did it, I think, because she wants to see it, Ezra. Bottom line. And Ahsoka kind of realizes that they're headed to the other galaxy at this point, and she kind of lets Hera know and all that. And
it's like, I don't know how we're gonna be able to do that. And like, well, do we know how to get there? Anything like that? And as they're kind of talking about it, Ahsoka kind of looks up
at the same spot basically Balon was at when he was looking.
And more per girls.
Yeah, per girls. She knows.
Yeah.
She's okay. So since she's come back from that, since she was resurrected, she's listening to her gut more. I've noticed. She's definitely like lighter. It seems. Not only is she wearing white, like she just seems lighter. She seems a little more willing to smile and listen to her gut. And in this moment, her gut is telling her that, well, the Purrgil travel through different galaxies. Maybe I could figure out a way to hop a ride.
maybe there's a big enough one that we can hop a ride.
But so we get a call from Mon Mothma at this point, and Hera's talking to her, and Mon Mothma orders Hera to bring her and Ahsoka back so they can like talk about this, because it's not okay, and in their eyes, in the New Republic's eyes, that they just went off with a fleet of X-Wings and lost 2 of them especially, and they don't really know what's going on in there. Technically they don't really believe her, it seems like, in what's going on. I mean, they didn't let her go, so they're saying that she's gonna need Ahsoka's testimony, and Hera's like, I don't know if she's gonna listen to me. So
that may or may not be happening.
But she might like lose her position if she can't. Hera might lose her position as general if she can't testify. So she doesn't, I don't think, cares too much about positions and stuff. It's nice that she has power, that where that comes from, but she's used to not having a position such as being a general. But so again, this is like, I think Ahsoka's just back to feeling herself. Right. She's trusting her gut. She's wants to carve her own path again, and she's willing to take risk. She's willing to take leap of faith that she wasn't willing to take since things have gone wrong. You know, she's kind of hermited away and just focused on this one thing of stopping Thrawn. And maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe it is like building her own family or something. You know, that family that she kind of abandoned after Rebels. You know, but came back for Sabine to train her. So she was always like back and forth with that, and I think that plays a role in how she acts from now on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Captain Teva is really cool here. He buys them some time to get away, to meet up with the Purrgil and see
all-timer. This is like an all-time performance for him. And he is just messing with the incoming fleet.
Yeah, the New Republic fleet's coming to take him back.
You know, Hera's like, hey, you cannot let them come down here because I don't know how long it's going to take. We just found the biggest Purrgil that's out here. Like, Ahsoka is out there, I assume, talking to it. But I don't know how much time it's going to take, Carson. And he's like, all right. You know, like, you got it. Right. You got it, General.
So he is.
I'll do my best.
Him and the X-Wings are just kind of like standing there against this giant fleet of like New Republic Imperial ship. Like, not Imperial, yourself. New Republic ships. Yeah. And he's like,
identify yourself.
Yeah. He's
just, Captain Teva, you know who we are.
Yeah.
I do not know who you are until you identify yourself. Exactly. It's like
he's playing the bureaucratic role very well to give them enough time. And this is when Ahsoka as she's attempting to communicate with the Purrgil, you see it from Jason's perspective at first, and it's really cool because he's like, again, he's looking at Ahsoka like, man, I want to do that. Yeah. Come on, let me do that. I want to
be like Ahsoka.
Yeah. And this is, she kind of closes her eyes and meditates and communicates with this Purrgil, the giant one. It's huge. Yeah. And it opens its mouth, like basically like, yeah, get in.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
We'll do this. And they're off. And this is when Hu Yang and her have a pretty funny conversation because she orders him to go into the mouth, and he's like, get in here. And they're like, he's kind of like, well, you're sure like this is going to where it's going, right? We're gonna meet Ezra and them, right? And she's like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Basically, you can go anywhere, like Hu Yang says, and she's like, I know. That's better than going nowhere, which I love that. Because again, she was kind of stuck. She was kind of not doing. She was not progressing in her own life because of these holdups that she had.
Yep.
And it's nice to just see her letting go of that.
Absolutely.
And she even has a smile, I know she's got that classic Snips smirk. Mm-hmm. And so they have a moment here also between Hera and Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. And
being like, I know you want to come, and she's like,
yeah.
And Hera's response is just like, yeah, Jason's a little too young to cross galaxies.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. And she's like, Hera, I promise I'll find him. And this one, Hera's like, may the Force be with you.
Yeah.
And then this part's interesting because like as they're in the Purrgil's mouth and they're taking off, Ahsoka's like bathed in light, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like very clear. But like at the beginning of the episode, she was like kind of in darkness.
Yeah.
Like in the world between worlds. So like it's definitely like the dichotomy is there of like she was reborn again as something else.
Yeah. Absolutely.
As something more, like Anakin said.
Yeah.
You can be something more. And she has become something more so far.
Yeah.
And she's ready to do what she's got to do. And it's really cool to me that she is just willing to get in this Purrgil's mouth and just trust the Force.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what she's doing at this point, right? Like she doesn't know, but she knows because the Force is guiding her that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's wrong, well, the Force guided her there, so she'll go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Shadow Warrior element. We were talking during the movie, and like we had a few ideas. I landed on it being Anakin, the Shadow Warrior, basically like. Because of the fact that he's dead, but he's as the living Force now, like playing the role of Anakin for Ahsoka to continue that battle that they started, but necessarily isn't the same battle anymore.
Yeah,
that she needs to continue now, and I thought it was an interesting title, so I just love deep diving into that.
Well, and then it's like, Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola also credit Akira Kurosawa as like influences and stuff. And if you haven't seen Seven Samurai, go check that out. And then
speaking of those two, they produced Kagemusha, which is Shadow Warrior. So
that's which is something that's really awesome in the fact that those guys looked up to Akira Kurosawa. And then helped Akira Kurosawa finish his project or make his project and stuff. Make sure that it got completed and out to the world.
Distributed by 20th Century Fox and stuff. Yeah. So it was cool to see that movie because it showed you there was a moment that was clearly a world between worlds type scene, but it was more of a dream sequence and whatever. But it did seem like he was trapped in an infinity type situation with with the other version of himself. So it was cool to see. I loved that movie, by the way. So if you haven't seen that, go watch Kagemusha or Shadow Warrior. And I think it's funny because I think Anakin's actually still the chosen one thing kind of is true now in a sense because he's totally balancing the Force, it seems like. And from beyond, for sure, but it does seem like his role's being fulfilled still. He almost needed to go bad. He almost had to, get to where he had to go. He did kind of end the Sith as well as the Jedi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, there's balances out there now.
Yeah.
And there's new ways to build up the Force. And we've seen different uses of the Force already in this show, so...
Yeah, I mean, Luke still builds up a school a little bit.
Yeah, and then we see the Night Sisters tapping into it in their way.
Yeah,
then,
right.
You know what I mean? So, and then we see Balon and Shin tapping into it their way.
Exactly.
So
because they're not necessarily Sith. I wouldn't call them Sith, but they're definitely
it's
Sith.
Just like
they're
the
Sith.
Jedi.
They're Sith adjacent for sure.
There is no Sith left really.
Yeah.
Other than the Emperor. Somehow, Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, he's in a cave somewhere now.
But we're gonna ignore that because luckily the show's ignored that.
Yeah, right. But
other than Mandalorian touches on the cloning stuff, which I appreciate, like, because like make more sense.
Yeah.
And with the sense. With the expanded universe, you can make the movies that kind of have to skip over things for the sheer fact that they're only a couple hours long. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The context can be built in the TV shows and expanded universe stuff. So I'm happy to see Ahsoka moving forward, and this was like one of the coolest episodes of anything Star Wars in a long time. Just like seeing Anakin as Clone Wars Anakin, seeing all these scenes from Clone Wars that like maybe like the Ryloth scene we didn't necessarily get to see in the show, but like, you know what I mean? Like it was cool because we knew they were doing it like in that battle, and then also the Mandalorians is also cool to see.
Yeah, that was super sweet to see. This episode was sweet. I really liked it. I don't know. Do you have any more? I don't have any more.
I got nothing.
All right. So I am JimmE with the Triple C Collective.
I'm Collin.
And we want to thank you all for joining us here. Please like and subscribe to our video and to our channel. And as always, may the Force be with you.